What's up, everybody? It's your boy Kid Smooth, and this is another video, man. Uh, we're about to be at the end of 2016, and I wanted to do this video because in 2017 we got some mega things coming. Not only with like the Nintendo Switch, but we also got Microsoft highly anticipated console, Project Scorpio, which is supposed to be an upgraded Xbox One that's supposed to be like much more powerful than the Xbox One and also the PlayStation 4 and the PlayStation 4 Pro. But we always get news and rumors about Project Scorpio, and I really want to share with you guys some underappreciated, some overlooked facts that are completely amazing about Project Scorpio that's being completely ignored. So let me have the duty of sharing these facts with you guys, and hopefully, guys, you enjoy them. I don't know how much these facts would mean to you when it comes to Scorpio, but they mean a lot to me because some of the stuff that they're implementing into Scorpio, I had trouble with when it came from going from console to console as upgrades happen. So let's check them out. So one of the amazing facts about the Xbox One Project Scorpio, or the Xbox One Pro, whatever you guys want to call it, it will be compatible with your current Xbox One accessories. Now,
And every single thing that we've done for Xbox One will continue to work.
We add to the capabilities of the Xbox One and the Xbox One family without forcing gamers to abandon all the games in the community that they love so much.
These two systems are part of the same family. The games will work on both. The accessories work on both.
now that means my Xbox One S and my Xbox One Elite controller will be completely compatible with the Project Scorpio. And not only that, but headsets, keyboards, add-ons, plugins, it's completely compatible. That's an amazing thing. Right now, I can't use an Xbox 360 controller on an Xbox One or an OG Xbox controller on the Xbox 360 natively. So now coming with the Project Scorpio, you're going to be able to do that with no problem. So that means for all those who have collections of Xbox One controllers, especially with the Xbox Fun Design Lab, you made a bunch of controllers and whatnot. No, you don't want to get rid of them, and you want to still be able to use them while enjoying a better experience on the Project Scorpio. And us being able to do that with our expensive ass headsets that have no trade-in value at all, you can now use those and they will follow you through with the Project Scorpio. You don't have to buy a special headset for that. You don't have to buy a special controller for that. Hell, the Project Scorpio can launch without a controller in a box, and it will be perfectly fine if you already have an Xbox One, because your controller will work for it. Now, I'm not suggesting that will happen or that they should do that, but knowing that you don't have to get anything extra for it. You can save a little bit of money. You can save an extra $60-$70 on the controller, knowing that you have about 16 back in your house. So that's one underappreciated fact about Project Scorpio that nobody's really mentioning or really have paid attention to. Now, another fact. Now, some have mentioned it, but I don't understand. But people, I guess, are not really giving it the praise and the props that it deserves. When you look at your PlayStation 4 or your PlayStation 4 Pro, it can play PlayStation VR. Nice, it has a VR for it. However, with your gaming PC, you can decide on whichever VR you want. There's so many types of VR, some high-end, low-end. Of course, you got Oculus, you got Vive, and Microsoft releasing a inexpensive VR headset. You have options on your PC, and with the PlayStation, you're just stuck with the PlayStation VR. The thing about Project Scorpio that makes it so amazing is that it will not only play its first party, the Microsoft VR system that they're putting out, it will run Oculus Rift, and also HTC Vive. Vive will work for the Project Scorpio. I mean, when Oculus Rift came out, Microsoft was the first to do a partnership. You get an Xbox One controller with every Oculus set that is sold. With HTC Vive, we know that they're going to be a part of Scorpio in support because the Fallout developers, Fallout VR, is only coming out for HTC Vive, and that's going to be compatible with Project Scorpio. I mean, why else would they talk about Fallout VR that is going to be on Vive on a Project Scorpio reveal trailer? So this is amazing. It's like now you have a console that's able to play a VR system that you may already own or a VR system that you might have interest in. You're not going to be stuck with a gimmicky Xbox VR system to play on your Scorpio. You can play Oculus, HTC, or the Microsoft one that's going to be going for like $200, $300. And that one's a very PC friendly, or actually you don't have to have a powerful PC for a Microsoft VR system. So that's pretty amazing. But if you don't believe me, let the Fallout developers tell you about it.
We're moving Fallout 4 to VR, and to have a console that can support that at the resolution and speed that we really want, I think it's going to be magical.
Now, if that's not convincing enough, there's another fact about the Project Scorpio that I feel is also underestimated. And it was funny because I've seen this trend before, and now I see the pros in it. Now, remember, if you're an Xbox guy, you're on the internet, you're on the Twitter, and remember, the console's getting made fun of for lower resolutions or cheap 1080p and whatnot and whatnot. Now, you know how people were making fun of the fact that games running on Xbox, some Xbox games were achieving 1080p by dynamic scaling. If you guys know what dynamic scaling is that's when what they do is they'll lower the resolution in order to maintain the high frame rate of a video game. So Halo 5 maintains 60 frames per second by lowering its resolution during those high intense scenes. And I believe Quantum Break does it, Gears of War does it, and some third-party games that do it too. So we know that the games that are using dynamic scaling will actually maintain its high resolution and high frame rate at the same time, because the Scorpio will be able to read those changes. So we have quotes from Phil Spencer himself about this. He says, "There are games that are written on Xbox One, and we continue to evangelize this tech of dynamic scaling. Halo 5's a good example. When Halo 5 runs, it runs to max out at 1080p 60 frames per second or highest resolution 60 frames per second. As scenes get more complex, the vertical resolution will shrink to keep the 60 frames per second." Now remember, guys, people made fun of Halo 5 and other Xbox games for only being able to do that. It couldn't do it natively. It couldn't be a 1080p game and 60 frames per second games. But a lot of people don't know, a lot of games on the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One aren't native 1080p. They either use scaling or some sort of magic trick to achieve both those features. Phil Spencer also says in another interview, when the same game's running on Scorpio, because of the compute capability, it's effectively is going to run at its max resolution the whole time. And so we'll see advantages like that when your Xbox One games are running on Scorpio. So that's why we continue to talk to developers about dynamic scaling, because I think as compute capability goes up on the hardware, they kind of get it for free. Now, it's not going to make Halo 5 run with 4K pixels. The frame buffer is not a 4K frame buffer for the game, but it will run more solidly, and certain developers might go back and decide if they've built a 4K version for PC already for some of their games. They might go back and decide to enable a 4K version for the Scorpio Xbox when it launches. Phil Spencer explains more in English, more of a language for dummies about Halo 5 and dynamic scaling and how Project Scorpio treats it in his interview with Giant Bomb. He says, Halo 5 implements something called dynamic scaling. So as scenes get more complex, in order to maintain 60 frames per second, they will actually change the resolution that you're running at. And they're not the only games that does this. So then if you run the game on Project Scorpio, you're actually going to be at the max frame rate of that game more often. See, this is why developers use dynamic scaling. And now when he says Halo 5 isn't the only game that does it, it's not the only game that does this. We know that Doom on PS4 and Xbox One does dynamic scaling. We know The Division does dynamic scaling. And we also know that The Witcher 3 does dynamic scaling. So these are games that will essentially run at its highest frame rate and highest resolution possible on the Project Scorpio. And to my knowledge, the developers actually don't really have anything to do in order for that to happen. Now, those games won't be running native 4K or won't be 4K pixels, because they will have to go back and enable that. However, to have those games run 1080p 60 frames per second, the Project Scorpio will actually do that if it's using dynamic scaling, which is a very, very underrated fact that nobody's actually talking about. And that's pretty amazing because our backwards compatibility titles on Xbox One that will be playing on our Scorpio will look better. And a lot of Xbox exclusives will be doing that because a lot of Xbox games are using dynamic scaling. And now you guys are going to see the full benefit of what the game will be and feel like in its highest resolution and its highest frame rate possible. And my last small fact about the Project Scorpio is that it's
a monster.
Xbox is the best box, and I am the best bot.